Oh, crud. Okay, well,
Hello.
welcome to I Talk Tech. We're having some technical difficulties, but we're here. Enrico Palmerino is our champion who's been putting up with technical challenges, and we're thrilled to have him with us. I'm the president of the ITA. We're a technology association, and I'm going to give you a little bit of information about our organization, and then I'm going to interview Enrico and get some really cool insights about what real AI can do for us as individuals and professionals and business people. So, the ITA is an organization of technology professionals from all sorts of different areas. Our mission is to create a collaborative environment in which key technology folks can share information, and then by doing that, enhance the way they and their clients do business. So the ultimate goal is to make businesses better through the application of technology. We have different members. We have the ITL constituents who are CIOs of the top 50 CPA firms in the United States. We have consulting resellers who are the founding members of the organization, and they are implementers of mid-market accounting software and ERP solutions. And then we have the technology partners, which is the group that Enrico is part of. And these are software organizations, creators of applications for small to medium-sized businesses. Then we have consulting professionals. These are firms who consult with other members in our community. And then our newest constituents are the client accounting service leaders in the top 100 CPA firms in the United States. And we're excited to have them as an official part of our organization. And as I said, Enrico is a member of the technology partner membership level, and they bring a great deal of insight to our organization. So this is Enrico, and I want to let you start talking. Enrico, how's your audio? Is it working now?
Probably not. So I'll just talk really loud.
I can hear you.
Hope that it works.
We can hear you. So good.
Okay.
So tell us about you. I want to hear about ThinkLight. Tell me about that.
So ThinkLight is a company I started in my dorm room to automate how lighting analysis and design was done. It started out as a school project. My class, or what the teacher asked of us, was basically find an area of opportunity where there is a way you could take something that's hard copy and put it into a digital database and then automate a function or a task associated with it. And I happened to see some guys going around doing a lighting analysis on campus, and they were flipping through a catalog of lighting products and then writing some stuff on a graphing paper. And all I thought was, well, you could probably take the catalog, database it, and whatever calculation they're doing by hand, you could certainly create and programmatically perform it. And so that ended up becoming my class project and turned into a pretty large business with about 60 employees before I graduated.
That's incredible. Wow. And then SmartBook. So then in 2015, you launched a bookkeeping company, right?
Yeah, actually, I teamed up with a husband and wife who had initially started the bookkeeping practice. And it was just because I had so much pain with growing and scaling ThinkLight. We were every accounting headache under the sun, whether it was multi-entity and foreign currency conversion. We got into manufacturing and made a bunch of like custom LED products. So we had to deal with all of that, deferred rev rec, complex asset depreciation schedules. Like I said, every accounting nightmare. And so I saw this opportunity. It was like, there's got to be a better solution out there for companies like me, startups and businesses who are trying to scale and grow and just want high quality accounting, but not to have to build it internally. So I reached out to Calvin and his wife. We teamed up. I invested, became a partner in the practice, and then we built one of the early days of cloud accounting. So I think in a couple years, we grew from a couple people and maybe a few hundred K in revenue to 5.5 million and like a 40, 50 person operation. So yeah, it was taking off really fast, and we were using all of whatever we had a tech stack before tech stacks were even a terminology. Yeah, it was fun, but it had its own challenges as that tech stack grew, and there were more apps in the stack, and app fatigue, and system switching, and the data not tying out, and just wanting one place to like go and serve the clients and ideally automate away as much of the basic work as possible. And that was what led to the idea for BotKeeper.
Yeah, so having had my own CAS practice, I started in 2014 and closed it in 2022. You really learn how painful it is to work through different transactions than what you said about the tech stack. I mean, every time a new one comes out, you got to switch, you got to modify what the client does, and it's a nightmare. And solutions, as they come out and continue to evolve, they add new features, but it's not always easy to switch over to that. So yeah, so sure. So
no, not at all. And just if you're lucky to get the data to tie out, I mean, that's like the biggest issue.
Right.
If you're relying on this app stack and you want it to integrate, most of the apps don't integrate with each other. And then I just found, like, you know, you gain efficiency with an incremental app, but you lose efficiency in tying out the data. And,
yeah, so true. And
the dirty secret is everyone has some giant Google sheet somewhere that tracks and maps, you know, what client to what account to what app, senior accountant controller, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm still in the CPA firm part of the time. I work with wineries here in Napa, so I'm doing consulting only advisory services. And I had a client the other day say, the accounting software, I just consider that storage. Everything I do is in Excel. And I just looked at him and went, oh my gosh, that's horrifying. Oh, that's kind of going backwards if you ask me, but okay, whatever works, I guess. So I mean, I can't imagine, you know, as an old person sitting in college going, I'm going to figure this thing out. I'm going to get automation. I'm going to do tech. I was doing programming on a mainframe. I mean, I've tried to figure out how to do an amortization schedule in BASIC, and that was like the biggest, coolest thing I could do with the technology at the time. So how do you get the resources together to take that idea into execution and delivery? And then you do it again multiple times. You've done it across different businesses. How do you find all the pieces that you need to do something like that?
I think it starts with, like, if you take the idea to market first, and I think like this is where a lot of people get hung up, is they'll take an idea and they spend too long on it trying to dream up like the perfect way that it's going to go and how you're going to staff it and build it and integrate it. And they don't bring the idea to market first to just get market validation. You end up spending so much money and so much time in ideation without actually really knowing, is this anything that your clients are going to want. So I got the idea out there really quickly, and then just iteration from there. It's just constantly pivoting and tweaking and iterating the product forward as you're getting that incremental feedback, and that's letting you move way faster than I think most. And then from a resourcing standpoint, you know, there's no hidden trick to it. It's the old school, like the first company. I mean, it's like playing Monopoly. So the first company, like beg, plead, borrow to get the business off the ground and to put the money in there. I had so many credit cards that we were doing cash withdrawals on, that we were financing the business with. We had so many banks and banking relationships because each one we could get a small business line on. We did factoring, or like we factored our, you know, receivables.
Accounts receivable.
Played the game, and we had second, third jobs that we were running. But the beauty is, if you can hit it and you do get one success, that puts some capital in the bank that
funds the next one.
You then become the fool who's investing in your next crazy idea.
That's right.
And if you can, along the way, get enough traction and enough people are believing in it, seeing it, using it, benefiting from it, you can get outside and institutional money to get involved, and that's ultimately what we end up doing in BotKeeper.
Yeah, it's like telling somebody who has no cash to go to the bank and get funding, right? When you're a startup and you don't have any track.
Well, this is what I tell startup entrepreneurs and founders all the time, is that, like, look, you hear out in the VC world and everyone says, like, quit your job and just go all in on your startup. And that couldn't be the worst advice that anyone could do, because if you do that and things don't play out perfectly, and they never do, it costs like 2 or 3 times more than you think it will, and it'll take 4 times longer. And I swear those numbers hold true for BotKeeper. And when you're out of money or you're getting close to being out of money, you get stressed. You're not going to think clearly. You're not going to like solve problems the way you should. You're not going to make the right decision because you're going to be making decisions based on what little capital you have left instead of like what's really the right decision, even if it costs more in the short term. So the best thing you do is you start off by moonlighting because that keeps income coming in, that lets you put income into another project. And with the lighting business, like I knew very well I could do landscaping and make anywhere from a couple $100 an hour to $800 an hour, and then I could pay someone $20 an hour to build stuff for me and do that economic change or currency conversion of time. That's how you pull it off in the early days, and that's how you started with no money. I had no money. I came from no money. I was on financial aid, going to school. So yeah, I was poor borrowing money, and those things don't go well together. But we figured it out.
But also, I mean, how do you know where to go to find those $20 an hour people that have the skills you need to get the thing produced? How do you find your way to those kinds of people and the programmers for BotKeeper and things like that? How do you?
We didn't have programs like Upwork or Fiverr or any of that back then. I mean, like, we went to Craigslist. I mean, we were like posting on Craigslist and finding people and interviewing. I mean, I had a line of people just showing up at my school who come to my dorm room or the area of the building I rented, and they were like suit and tie, like doing interviews, and there's like two kids sitting at a desk trying to look older than me.
That's hilarious.
And then we rented we ended up taking the money that we were paying for college housing, put it into renting a small house down the street. But even then, that was kind of weird. We converted the first floor into like office space, and we lived on the second one. But we like totally scrappy, and there's like people that appreciate that. They're like this is great. It's so different from the average business and office.
Yeah.
That,
Scrappy.
How it works. You got to put stuff out there. You got to take risks and chances. And was it embarrassing to have someone walk through my kitchen like for an interview in the living room where there's like a couple cubicles set up? Well, yeah, for sure. But
that's fantastic.
We didn't let embarrassment get in front of what we were trying to build and the idea we were chasing.
It's incredible. Okay, so let's talk about BotKeeper. So the theme. So the way I do this I Talk Tech session, again, representing technology across our different membership categories. I really want to talk about that the ITA's mission is to help clients do business better. So your solution, and BotKeeper is a very unique model, and I want you to talk about that. And you're also one of the few people who's actually applying AI and all of the cool technology that everybody else is mostly just talking about. So I want to talk about that. But at the end of the day, what's the impact of what you're delivering? What's the impact it makes on your clients and the clients of your clients, since your clients are typically accountants and bookkeepers? So what's the impact?
I'll work backwards. One of the best, I think, signs of impact, and when I felt like, okay, we've done something that's making a difference, is I had a woman approach me at a conference and said, "Hey, are you Enrico?" And I said, "Yes." She's like, "BotKeeper?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Are you a client?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Oh, well, what can I do for you?" And she's like, "My husband's a client. He uses BotKeeper." And I was like, "Oh, great. Like, how's it going?" And she said, "I got to tell you, ever since he's used BotKeeper, he hasn't missed a dinner with me." And that to me was like, probably like, I mean, I almost like teared up. It was like, oh my God, I've actually done something that's had, meaning and like made an impact. And so the long and short is like, cut to the chase, but like, yes, like crazy hours and the work schedule and the month end crunch and all this stuff prevented this individual from having, consistent dinner. And now kind of backing into that, the way we've changed and what we've done to allow consistency or a better work-life balance for accountants, or to do more, to have higher margins and therefore have better lives, we've fundamentally changed how accounting workflow is done. So if you think about it, there's aspects of the workflow at the end of the month that have this like pinch in time. It's like a massive resource constraint, and then it's gone, and you're kind of like back at even keel. And that's usually like the worst part of the month for everyone. It's when pulling extra hours and long nights. We've done things like fully automate the reconciliation process. So you connect an account to BotKeeper, we're pulling in the transactions, we're coding them in real time. But then at the end of the month, as soon as that statement's available, we fetch it, pull it in, line item extract all the data on it, compare that to everything in the account, reconcile it all out, and mark it reconciled for you. So there goes an entire month-end process that you'd have to do otherwise. Other things that we automate away are like month-end journal entries. So instead of like having to dig up an Excel file somewhere and post the principal and interest, it's done for you and the schedule's appended. Instead of having to do a month-end review, you're doing AI continuous review. It's like looking at the transactions in real time, identifying the outliers, identifying anything that needs additional like feedback or input. And now you've taken what was previously in the accounting world a very systematic month and ongoing process, and we've totally changed it. So it's been cool to see. It's been cool to see the change. It's been cool to like put the flag in the sand and say that we've actually fundamentally changed the accounting workflow. But I'd say like at the end of the day, all of that, while it's cool and great, and like using AI and tech, I can geek out about it all day long. Like the thing that gets me the most is that feedback where it's like, you've made my life better. Or I had another client say they gave up on accounting and they're only back in accounting because BotKeeper exists. Like those are the cool things where you've made a little bit of a difference or a dent on an industry.
So I heard you say automating journal entries.
Yes.
And so I hope you can do this. I have a journal entry that I need to make every month to zero out a balance of a bunch of other accounts.
Okay.
Can you automate that? Take some of these accounts and reverse it with the journal entry. You transfer it to this account.
I wouldn't be surprised if eventually, like, we don't have that today. But I'd love to like spend some time with you on this and understand the use case more and see if we could build something out to alleviate.
Those are the kinds of things, like you can do it in high-end mid-market accounting solutions. You can do an offsetting entry based on the sum of these accounts and automatically record it. But in QuickBooks, where most of our clients are, I need to transfer a cumulative total to the balance sheet once a month off the P&L. And I can't, I have to go have them added up and do whatever. So we'll talk about that. But
yeah.
I mean, those are the kind of stupid things that require human intervention, and we should be able to do that stuff. So okay, we'll get hooked up on that later. So that makes a huge impact.
I mean, you're not applying your brain when you're coding transactions. I mean,
That's
you're doing almost rote memorization. You're doing a little bit of like read between the lines and gray areas for things you haven't seen before. But you're not like, when I think accountant, that's not the things I think of. Like I think of an accountant as, I mean, there's the movie The Accountant, and I think like that is the epitome of an accountant. That's someone who can like look at the numbers, find the anomalies, see the trends, the patterns, and then like tell you what you can do and how you can change your business. Like that's the marquee accountant that's out there, but you can only do that when the coding's done. So how do we get you there as early and often in the process as possible?
And I think that's been the challenge. We waste so much time in the details. I mean, I did tax work for way too long. And if you came in when I was doing a tax return and asked me how did I do as a business owner, I couldn't tell you because I was too busy getting the stuff in the right box and filing the tax return. So freeing us from that is a huge benefit of what you're delivering. And it's so cool to hear that. Whenever you hear the fact,
I feel like people need to just start doing psychology classes, like give accountants the confidence to then have those discussions, because like soon the resource of the data and the analysis will be there ready for you. But don't trust AI to have that convo for you. Trust it to like prep you for that convo.
Yeah.
So, like we're gonna have to do some like mental like coaching and exercising with I think accountants to just feel the advise their client and tell them like this is what I believe, and I might not be like totally right, but here's where I'm coming to you, and I do know a thing or two about accounting, probably more than you do. So, but they're afraid to do it. They're afraid that the business owner who's good at making widgets knows more about accounting than they do. It's not true.
Well, we're on the same page about that. And I think one of the best benefits of COVID was that accountants were forced to give advice without 100% knowledge whether it was right or not. When those provisions came out, I mean, we were writing interpretations with no referential support for it. I was writing documents about what we think this might do or it might do that. I was presenting because our clients had to make decisions to stay in business. And I think it gave us the right to not have 100% accurate response. And I think we got confidence from that. hopefully we continue to do that.
You
I
know,
think you're right.
I had never thought of it that way, but you're totally right, because accountants tend to typically live in the black and white and like total
Oh yeah.
certainty. But I'd say like
Oh
the
yeah.
most helpful or beneficial to a business is when you play in the gray. It's when you like find the possibility and then give it to an expert to like suss out the certainties. But at least
Yeah.
surface it so that like surface it often and you know have those conversations so you can find these areas of opportunity and start to like work towards them.
Yeah, and I mean, I do training for advisory work, and now people come through, and the biggest benefit is they come out with confidence because we have the skills. We just haven't been trained in how to interpret data because we're so busy doing the stuff that's mandated and required and regulated and all that boring stuff that I have to tell you. So we're glad for automating all that boring stuff and
Right.
giving us the confidence to trust the numbers. But I find in working with clients that the numbers don't need to be 100% accurate for them to have insights. So having a conversation on a financial statement that has an error in it is oftentimes very useful because they can find the error and they can explain it or justify the aberration, which might be intentional. For example, AR is really high. Oh, we just got $1 million sale that's not going to be collected till next month. But even if the numbers don't look right, there's still an opportunity to have conversations around them if we can break down the barriers to understanding for our client. So where do you spend? So talk a little bit about all the cool automation and things that you're applying to free up all these people from the work that they would normally be doing, from the stuff they don't want to do to get to the insights.
So we do a lot with machine learning. We don't do much with generative AI or large language models. And so despite us releasing a lot of new things recently and the timing being kind of lined up with Gen AI and everything, the reality is Gen AI does not do, like, don't trust it with accounting. It's not designed to be accurate. Same thing with LLMs. Can't do math. But very specific machine learning models can do accounting tasks like very well. But it means that like we have arguably tens of thousands of machine learning models running in unison and parallel all the time, which is way more complicated to both maintain and build than just a single Gen AI model that can do a variety of things. But the upside is the accuracy to your point, which if the numbers aren't accurate, you can't trust the AI, then you can't feel confident to have those conversations. So
what does that? Yeah, what does that look like when you say machine learning? I mean, I understand that you have repetitive tasks and somehow automate. But what, like an example? Am I doing keystrokes that I've automated, or what am I?
So history and present are teaching the machine or giving the machine a ton of data to basically spot patterns and arrive at conclusions or calculated guesses for what should happen next time I see something like this. And where the finesse is around like what is a like item, like where is the transitive of property apply and where shouldn't it? And that's where like a lot of I'd say IP and a lot of like these neural networks and models that are designed to basically figure out if it's just rote and it's like the same thing every single time, that's not like the beauty or power of the machine. The machine's ability to basically look at what is a cog for a restaurant and meals and entertainment in a company and understand and identify that like a tomato is a vegetable or a fruit and it should, but it and like based on it being a fruit, it has a property that applies to one business differently than another. That's where the intelligence really comes in, and that's where we focus a lot of our effort and energy. So like every client of ours has 3 AI models at least running on them. They have an individualized personal model that looks at their history. They have a more broad group-based model that looks at like companies or like situations across the portfolio of BotKeeper, and then they have a competing model that challenges everything that's basically being done to try to suss out any potential errors and bring those and surface those to the human to make heads or tails of it.
So I work with wineries, and I had a bookkeeping business for wineries, and one of the big challenges we had is getting people to understand that this kind of expense needs to always go there. Yeah. So, for example, we had farming expense. We would have vineyard management companies that have a 4-page invoice sometimes with a whole bunch of different transactional detail on it. And we wanted them to know that vendor management invoices always went for this acreage to Cabernet, for example. So
Yep.
that's the kind of thing the machine could get smarter about and could watch me do it 3 times and then automatically.
And it might ask you, like, the nice thing is it might ask you, like, hey, confirm this is the case. Okay, you confirm it a couple times, its confidence builds up, and then it just starts doing it going forward. But imagine if you did that with rules. Like, what a nightmare that would have been. Because if, like, God forbid, if you had a massive invoice and you created rules for every single one of those items,
It's ridiculous.
People's character changed, like, it
Yeah.
would break. And then, like, they would all break, or like the vendor changed names or something. You'd have to go back and recreate hundreds or thousands of rules. It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
That's the power of AI because it's dynamic rules and it's like always adjusting or tweaking and can follow. It understands the context of what's going on to be able to like adapt as needed, the same way we would as humans.
Yeah. But how you figure out how to code that, you do it by trial and error, right? So
you do it by trial and error, or you look at the history, and the beauty is like, so imagine I don't know how many wineries you support, but
150
on a totally new winery that has not really any history, and you know exactly what to do because you have a good understanding of based on all the other wineries you're supporting. And in real time, let's say a new vendor enters the equation and they pop up in 1, 2, or 3 of your wineries, and you figure that situation out, you'll now know how to apply it to the other wineries. Same thing happens with AI, except it's doing it at not like 10 company scale, it's doing it at like tens of thousands of company scale. And
so somebody has to give it the first right answer so it knows what to do from there. And that's the adjustment period. You have to have somebody who knows enough to do that.
And the beauty is like the community benefits. The more people using it, the better it gets for everyone. Those the newest member and those who have already been using it. And it's like the way I relate it is it's becoming the smartest bookkeeper you could ask for, not by processing, but by experience. So like the same way we would say like, oh, this one accountant's like got to be like the smartest because they've supported 1,000 clients and they've seen everything under the sun and they can like bridge the gaps between the gray. The AI is doing that just at crazy scale, and the more scale we feed into it, the better we'll be able to do that.
The dog is not AI generated.
Not fans right now.
Not
worried about, is the AI actually going to feed me or not?
I'm sure you'll have that figured out too very soon. So in your role, when you're CEO of a company that's moving at a rapid pace, where do you spend most of your time? Is it on administrative stuff? Is it on innovation and technology? Is it managing people? Is it looking for funding? Is it investor community? Where does most of your day?
So funding takes like, I'd say funding or finance kind of take periodic points. There's like managing the funding you have, and then there's raising the next round. It comes in cycles. Like our fundraisers have been 60-day processes. So, but like all in. So like for 60 days, it's all I'm doing, and then back into just managing our finances and our capital spend. We're driving the company to profitability now, so it's like more heavy on every dollar and spend than it was in the past. I'd say like I don't spend much at all, if any, time in administration, and I really don't even have time to spend in communications written by email or Slack. I just like the day I just basically have to look at it. If I want to get things done that are going to move the needle for the business at this point, I have to identify what those things are, and I just have to focus on them and not let any other distractions or communications get in the way of like accomplishing these items, and then just picking my head up when it's done to see, okay, what comms did I miss that I need to reply to or get back to? Was there anything urgent? Hopefully other people are like calling me if it's urgent and I missed an email that I shouldn't have. But a lot of time these days is with product and engineering, sales and marketing, customer success. I mean, like I just rotate through those and finance. And every time I solve one, like another one has a problem or a challenge, and I kind of helicopter into that one. And go on and on and on. problems never disappear. They just differ every year.
They just change. It's just like
The
parenting.
consequence of them is greater.
It's just like parenting, Enrico. And you have how many children do you have plus a dog?
I have 2 kids, 5 and 6, and I have 2 dogs. So
Two dogs. And the same thing is true of parenting. You solve one kid's problem and then the other one has something. Somebody told me you're only as happy as the least happy child as a parent.
I feel like that probably holds water.
Kind of true.
The least happy child or person in the household. So if my wife's having a mom day, there's no way I'm having a good day either.
That's true too. And your spouse. That's true. That is definitely true. So what's next? Where do you go? What's on the horizon for Bucky? Where are you taking things? What would you love to see happen?
Yeah, so at this stage, we've shipped a lot of new features and functionality. We've got a couple more that are going to come out. I'll mention those in a second. But really, it's now finesse. It's like, how do we take these brand new concepts and ideas and technology and then finesse it so that the use of it's natural, it's like unimpeding, and in an ideal world where AI and tech will, I think, hit their epitome is when like your interaction with them is imperceivable. Like you don't have to actively be in a user interface or like working with it. You can like ask it or talk to it or speak or type one thing and it will go perform a number of things to deliver that one result. So that's the next big hurdle for us, and we're actually working on that now. Beyond that, I think like the biggest area of opportunity for brand new feature functionality is going to be in analytics and insights, but not reporting. Like we're reimagining what a dashboard should be. So for your firm, it should tell you what's pressing or should be prioritized, and that dashboard that you look at should be like dynamic and almost always changing. You come to it today, it's going to tell you different things than it did last month, because it's telling you the most important things instead of giving you just a sea of data for you to spot the important.
That you have to. That's what we're doing with clients, giving them a whole bunch of data, and it's still useless.
Yeah, giant dashboards do nothing other than present a bunch of pretty little graphics, but then it's just overwhelming because you're looking at this thing, trying to figure out like, what should I care about? What's a trend that's good? What's a trend that's bad? And like, what's a normal trend? So in an ideal world, the AI will have said, this is trending in the wrong direction, and it's started to do so recently, or it's been progressively slowly, and it's adding up to something big. And then it should come to you like the best AI would tell you, here's how to do something about it. Because how am I going to figure out how to do something about it? I'm going to go research that. I'm like, identify the problem. I have this problem. I'm going to go online. I'm going to start asking that question to Google. I'm going to start diving into like how to fix this. I'm going to ask my peers. But with AI, it can get that result across 10,000 more data points and give some recommendation. And it's up to me to use my judgment and context on the business to make the right decision. So that's I think the next frontier. That's going to be the next really cool, exciting stuff that we launch at the end of this quarter. So like very, very soon we'll be launching Firm Insights to tell you anything you want to know about your firm, like areas for optimization, places to save time, who can handle the next client, like who could use some additional training and what on. And then to business insights where it's your client, this is advisory prep. Here's what's going on, here's what you should know, here's what looks good, here's what looks bad, here's how to impact it. And then you as the accountant with incremental context in a relationship, make sure this makes sense or edit and tweak it. And then you can, to me, I feel like this is the first step to confidence. The AI, and at least this is what we've seen in our data, the AI tells an accountant something, and the accountant believes what the AI said. The accountant's way more confident in making that recommendation or relaying that info to their
when they have data
than if they had derived the analysis themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, it really just comes down to, it's not that you trust the AI anymore, but it's a buddy system. It's like two people have arrived at the same conclusion, even though one of them is a machine. And I feel good about this recommendation I'm going to make to my client.
The validation to do what I want to do. I think the future of accounting is more what is scenario modeling and insights. And many of the tools do a great job of reporting historical data. but don't help me figure out what to do. And we're not trained as accountants to know that. So I think you're right on with what you're trying to do. And I think it'd be fantastic if the automation would give us the stuff we should be looking at instead of the stuff that we always have looked at, which is what we tend to do, right? Same as last year, the unfortunate approach that we use in many cases. So I can't wait to see what comes next. So this is the part where I ask you about nerdy or goobery terms that you hear bandied about in your world, and I'm sure you have a lot. So what do you hear? What do you love or hate that you hear?
I
What terminology?
I hate, and I think it's like hilarious. In security, there's like all these weird acronyms like smishing and phishing and wishing and I don't know,
What's
phishing. Throw some sort of ish on it and add another
yeah,
like letter to the front, and that just drives me nuts because like it doesn't need to be abbreviated. You could just be like, people will hack you via email, via like in person, or like it's like short enough. Like you don't need an abbreviation or some ishing. So it just every time I hear it or I do for security reasons and SOC and other stuff, we do security retraining. It just drives me nuts. That it's just like ridiculous.
okay, so what is smishing? Is smishing a real thing?
Smishing is a real thing, and
What
phishing
is it?
is a real thing.
Phishing, I know, but not smishing.
And I'm gonna have to now Google this for you real quick because this is how I
Phishing
think
might be some yes,
it is.
some kind of messaging where we
There's
get
phishing, vishing, and phishing. So smishing involves text messaging and messaging apps. Vishing is
video, video
phishing
spamming.
involves voice phishing. So it's
Oh, voice.
with like phone calls to steal personal info.
Yeah.
And then phishing, I think, is by email, but arguably it could be anything.
Yeah, that's the typical. So,
Fraudulent communications that appear to come from legitimate sources.
yeah. Okay, so now I have three things to worry about, not just one. Thanks a lot, Enrico.
Yeah.
Already worked.
And like, is it three? You just got like four terms for the exact same thing, and they're like changing the medium, and it's like,
Yeah.
does it matter what medium it is? We can be attacked from every angle. So, yeah.
It's crazy. I know, it's horrifying. If we can't think about it, it'll just make us crazy.
I think AI is going to end up. People are afraid of AI in this regard because the low hanging fruit. AI will be able to generate a lot of money for fraudsters with low hanging fruit. But as soon as the masses, and I'd say like for businesses, AI is probably going to squash a lot of IT security threats because it's just really good at identifying AI. It's really good at evolving and being way faster, shutting down potential breaches or identifying before you and I would pick up on it. Where I think AI is going to unfortunately have the upper hand is on attacking like common individuals and tricking us into doing things. But hopefully we've gotten good at recognizing Prince of Algeria or Nigeria emails.
Yeah, and junky emails that come in.
Yeah, don't give money to your mom if she calls you from a gas station. That's another new.
It's my child in a foreign country. Those are the ones that will get you, or they've been in an accident. Those are the horrifying ones. Okay, so what else do we need to know about you as I get us closer to the end of our time together? What else do we need to know about Waukee? And how's the weather in Canada? No bad storm.
If you looked at Botkeeper a couple years ago, look again. It's a totally different company, totally different technology. As you can imagine, if you looked at QBO, if you looked at Intuit 5 years ago and Intuit today, entirely different company. So we've been around for 10 years. So our products iterated and changed a lot. And even just in the last 2 or 3 quarters, or this quarter versus last quarter, the rate of change is, I think like that's what one of my scariest things is how fast this stuff is changing and how hard it is to keep up, and how long do you really have an advantage when you build something before someone knocks it off. And that's where I think like that's why our biggest focus is on finesse, because you can make it all come together and you can make the experience magical. That's where like that will be the victor of the newest technology that is kinky or weird or like doesn't work properly or glitchy. It's going to be like whoever has that technology and has made it seamless and kind of second.
Yeah,
happenstance, it runs in the background. You don't have to take time to learn.
Well, I think, all the voice input options that we have to the Alexa experience, people are used to just do it, find it.
Yeah.
So we're still a long way from that in some of the things. I mean, like, why is Outlook smart? Why are some of the email characters smart about getting some of the junk mail? Still, I mean, you should see after I moved it to the folder 12 times, you should have enough insight to know that was going to go in the junk folder.
And then I just say, like, get comfortable with, tech moving your cheese, because before it used to be an application that was just digitizing a manual or analog process. So the process was the same. It was just in a new place that made accessing the data or running analysis on it or tracking it, analyzing it a lot easier. Now the tech is going to be changing process, and it's going to I talked earlier about a couple examples of how we're changing the accounting process.
Yeah.
Get ready for it to change drastically, and just get comfortable with the change of process, because you can't achieve massive gains or improvements if you're going to keep the same process in place. You need to be able to have that big change.
And I think we make that mistake often. We try to automate the processes we're already using in our newest solution, even though it's designed very different. One of our challenges, we want to keep what we've done incorrectly in the past in whatever new solution or tool that we move to. So I think you're right. Rethinking how we think about how work needs to be done is the next step. So just a commercial about iTalk Tech. This chat is for members of the ITA only. And I have a sign-up sheet that's available from our website if people want to come in who are other ITA members. With that, I'm going to wrap it up unless there's something else you want to share. And you have a hello, Enrico message coming through from LinkedIn. And thank you for our LinkedIn audience for joining us. Thank you for being a gold level partner with the ITA and Provide Keeper. I attended your AI and Change conferences, which are fantastic. The last one was in Washington with Baby Summit, and it was a great success, as they always are. And thank you for coming to our conference this fall, which seems like a year ago, it was only a couple weeks ago. So, and thank you again for joining us and for overcoming the technical difficulties on the audio.
I just had to project my voice. I think that's I went analog in my solve for the technical challenge.
Like I knew you figured out. If anybody can, you can. So I appreciate your patience. It's really an honor to have you here with us. And thank you to you and your team for making it possible. And again, thank you for supporting the ITA. Have a great rest of the week and take care.
You too. Bye-bye.